Welcome to Section 4 of the iPrep series for Intro to Epi. In this section, we will use what we've learned to focus on word problems. Dealing with lengthy word problems can sometimes be intimidating, but if you learn how to tackle them in pieces, you'll be much more successful in your Intro to Epi course. This step-by-step guide will help provide you with a baseline when you find yourself struggling to get started. When you're starting a word problem, it is important to read the problem carefully and in its entirety before getting started with your 2x2 table or calculations. This will help you determine how much of the information is useful and how much is filler info. The second step is to identify what the problem is asking for. What does your answer need to explain in the end? What type of math calculations will you need to do? This will also help you eliminate unnecessary information. Next, you should identify the exposure and outcome being studied. This is important for setting up your 2x2 tables and performing your calculations correctly. You will have to ask yourself, what is the cause and effect being studied? This may involve weeding through a bunch of extra information. If there are multiple exposures or outcomes, be sure to focus on just the ones needed for your particular question. Then you should arrange your 2x2 table. Remember that having a template handy will make this part of the process easier. Also remember to make sure that your exposed and unexposed are on the left, while your outcome or non-outcome groups are on the top. Remember that these are also known as cases and controls. It's also important that A, B, C, and D are always in these same places. Otherwise, your risk ratio and odds ratio calculations will be off. Once you have filled your table out with what's given, be sure to use addition and subtraction to find any missing values. And once you have that table completely filled out, you can do any necessary calculations based on what the problem is asking for. Risk ratio and odds ratio are just two that we've gone over, but you may also be asked for rates. Be sure you're reporting your answers correctly and with the appropriate units if necessary. Decimal places are also important if a certain format is requested in a word problem. Here are some quick notes on scientific notation because many rates are asked to be reported as 10 to the n. This example shows the formula for crude death rate. It's being reported to 10 to the power of 3. So you would say in your answer 6.2 deaths per 1,000 person years, for example. The next step is working through word problems is to interpret your results. Remember to avoid words like less likely or more likely when reporting risks or odd ratios. Focus simply on how many times as likely an outcome is. The final step is to review your answers. Did you put the exposures and outcomes in the right places? Does all your 2x2 table at math add up? Did you use the correct formulas and correct values for A, B, C, and D? And is your answer in the right format and does it make sense? So to recap, this first video in the word problem series went over some steps to successfully solving word problems. Step 1 was to read the problem carefully. Step 2, identify what the problem is asking for. Step 3, identify your exposure and outcome. Step 4, label and fill out your 2x2 table. Step 5, perform necessary calculations. Step 6, interpret your results. And Step 7, check your answer. Please continue to video number 2 for a word problem example that follows these steps. Thank you.